We want to welcome you guys to L3 Perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Glenn Davis. I'm sitting here with my guy, Cameron Macias.
It's your boy, Killer Cam.
What's going on, guys? Hey, my name is Glenn Davis. As you know, I'm sitting here with my guy, Killer Cam.
Hey.
We want to welcome you guys back to the L3 Perspective, topics of life, love, and leadership. And Cam, man, how you feeling today?
I'm good, man. I'm sure you guys can hear my dogs in the background rustling around, That was happening with the home studio, bro.
Absolutely.
Growth. 2023.
Yes, was here.
It's going to be so dope.
With all capital letters.
All caps.
Yeah.
This is our first solo podcast of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, and the topic for today is something I was going through stuff on my computer.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, Glenn, you would like this," and he was like, "We got to talk about this."
We have to.
So because you wanted to talk about it, I'm gonna let you.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you introduce
sure.
the topic. But before we start, as always, subscribe, like, comment, love, share, hit us up. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so it's one of the overall things or our overall goals in this is always just to provide value. And I say that specifically with the topics today, man. So one of the things that you dug up.
I dig up things.
Yeah. So there are three main things, right? Humble, hungry, and hustle. And I think that, as people have started their goals of 2023,
Mm-hmm.
right, and they're diving into it, right, sometimes we have to be reminded of being humble. Sometimes we talk about the hustle,
Mm-hmm.
but, we don't know what comes with it we don't know the work that's required to come along with the hustle.
Yeah.
And then hungry, man, you can just kind of break that down to so many pieces. So that's what we're going to talk about, and I want to dive into it. Something that kind of stood out to me. The first one was humble. And it says self-discovery. Know who you are. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because I really believe that so many people walk around with a mask on their face, pretending to actually be someone that they're not, that they're truly not.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but let's talk about self-discovery, knowing who you are.
So, first, I did not come up with this, obviously. So I got it from the book H3 Leadership.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I actually got that as a Christmas present last year.
You're welcome.
It's on the bookshelf. And I thought about opening
obviously
it up.
hasn't read it yet.
Clearly not.
Now he's going to. Now, once again, another house on fire moment for you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I got it from there. So as far as like knowing yourself, I think there is a huge difference with people who like think they know themselves and who actually know themselves. Okay. Because I think a lot of people know the generalities of who they are. They like the movies they like. Mm-hmm. They know the music that they like. They know the food that they like. In general, they know the kind of jokes they laugh at.
Right.
But the difference comes in, do you hold yourself accountable to actions or things that you've said? Do you mean the things that you say, and if you don't mean them, are you honest about it when you don't? Yeah. Or like when you don't meet an expectation that you've set out against someone or against yourself. So that's the kind of, it's like that raw, like, can you be, people say like, oh, I can look at the person in the mirror and be happy with it. Like, it's cool that you can be happy with it, but can you be honest with it?
Right.
Can you be honest with the person in the mirror? Can you be honest with the person that you are becoming, because no one's perfect. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing too, is like failing in tasks is the same thing as, or not failing, but learning, failing forward, falling forward, all those types of things. It's all the same, especially when you do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. It's okay to think you like something and then discover you don't.
Right.
It's okay to be a certain way 5 years ago and then understand that now you're just not that way anymore. Mm-hmm. I know that as like my relationship was ending previously with my ex, that was a big thing. She said I wasn't the same person I was when we got married, and I said, I'm 35. I shouldn't be the same person I was at 22 at 35.
Right.
Otherwise, I've now wasted 13 years of my life.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, even when it comes to the self-discovery, you mentioned about being honest with yourself, and I think that is something that we really have to work on in our society as far as being honest with ourselves and knowing which direction that we actually want to go, right? Because we as humans, we impact so many people. Oh yeah, just across the board, and so I think that self-discovery is key. Knowing who you are. Is very, very important. Yeah. And not just like you said, not on the outer surface, like, oh, I like cheesesteaks, or I like
surface
pretzels.
level.
Yeah. But really, really deep and down. And I think that how you do that is by spending time with yourself. Mm-hmm. And so
I do like cheesesteaks, by the way.
That's good. That's why we're friends.
If I didn't like cheesesteak, would we? If you don't like Geno's over, what's the other spot?
There's Pat's. There's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch of the tourist spots. But the corner store. Anyway, that's a whole.
I think I've been to that spot.
Pat's?
No, they're like a corner store spot.
They're on every corner in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay, my bad. But I've been to like a mom and pop cheesesteak place, and it was better than those.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. 100%. Anyway. As I eat my cheesesteaks and be humble.
We just started a riot. We're going to get a whole bunch of hate.
Drop in the comments if you've ever been to Philadelphia.
Yep.
Right? And you've had a cheesesteak. Let us know which spots you think are better.
Not the tourist ones.
Yeah, not the tourist ones. We're not talking about Pat's and Geno's. Anyway. So the other ones was openness, meekness. I want to talk about this one, meekness. And it really ties into leadership as well. But like, it states that it's not about you.
Yeah.
I want to hear your perspective on that. Like, I know you've led many people, both personally, professionally, in your coaching business and your from the military aspect. Talk about that. Yeah.
It's like the whole what's the outcome? Like what's the ultimate goal type situation, right? So it's like, when you're developing folks, or just being humble in general, it's understanding that not everything is about you.
Right.
It's about what's the outcome that needs to happen, right? So, when I used to recruit, I used to tell people straight up. I'd be like, they read a fancy description of an Air Force job, defender or whatever, and they'd be like, oh, this one sounds dope, and I was like, look. Understand that the Air Force is a $1 billion company. Right. Like, they got people who write this stuff to make it sound super dope. I promise you. And so understand that what is the goal here? The goal is for you to, say, pay for college or do this or do that. Let's concentrate on the things that we get no matter 100%. Right? So the same thing is true when you're in an organization and you're trying to lead a team for, say, like a project.
Right.
The ultimate goal is, yes, to obviously finish the project, but don't forget about the learning along the way for each other, of the team, of the organization. Right. And I think too many people get lost in translation when they're trying to accomplish something because all they concentrate is the goal, not the journey. Yeah.
The goal, not the journey.
It's a wrap.
It is, man.
$5,000 right now.
and so even with that, like when you talk about remembering, it's not about you. I think it's also important to remind ourselves, especially for folks that have families, right? Yeah. And from a parenting lens, you have to remember that. Yeah, I know your goal is to make sure that your kids are as successful as possible. You equip them so when they're out there in the real world, you've given them what they needed.
Yeah, because the goal is. Don't raise asshole kids.
Right, exactly. And so it's not
about me.
Yeah, it's not about me. So remind yourself that again, it's not only about you. Yeah. Right. You're not only leading people in your workforce, but leading people in your home. So that was good. Like I said, that one really stood out to me when I came across that one. Convictions, faith, and assignments. So. With those three, stick to your principles. I definitely want to talk about that one. Faith, prioritize your day so God is first. Assignment, live out your calling. So when it comes to purpose, right, I often hear people talk about purpose is not just, I woke up this morning and poof,
Yeah.
You know, but more of finding what you were called to do, and or it finding you in an aspect. So when you talk about having an assignment in life, being able to impact, inspire, and everything like that, I think that's important. Conviction, though, or principles. That's what I want. Why aren't principles, or why are establishing principles, whether in your personal life, your business life, why is that important to you?
So, first, the one you just said a second ago with like the finding your purpose.
Yeah.
So your assignment. So you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yep.
So me and Ned did this where we tried to figure out what our true purpose was. And I found out that mine was teaching. I'm a teacher because they say that at the end of the day you're going to fall into one broad category, categories when it comes to, because the top point of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is you purpose. You're finding your purpose, your true purpose of life. And so I found out mine was teaching, and that ultimately validated why I got into coaching, because I'm teaching. Yeah. And so and it makes sense because when we talk all the time, I love it. I'm like, let's teach some shit. But so as far as principles, so they're important because that's like another part of your identity. It's the things. What are you willing not to bend? What are you willing to bend on, and what are you willing to break on, and what are you willing to never do either of those? Right. You know, like, and you have to figure those things out. You know, and it can be simple things, right? You know, like this morning, you know, we had a conversation where I had to do that. You know, I was doing a favor for someone, and I'm totally open to doing the favor, right. But I'm a busy man, and so it's like I have no problem doing this favor once, maybe twice. It can't become a standard because I can't support it. Right. And part of the principle, part of my principle especially, is finding people that respect that. So like the person that I said that to, totally understand. I know I already knew this was a one-off. I'd super appreciate, but you know, there wasn't any like, oh, well, whatever then, bro. Right. You know, and and those are two true tests of character. Right. When you create a boundary with someone that you consider close, they have two options. They either respect it or they disrespect it. Right. And then you have one of two options. You either let it happen or you do not let it happen. And then there's another two options, and it's you either stay connected with that person or you distance yourself. Yeah. I have come to the point in my life where I choose distance over disrespect. Right. Yep. And peace over drama. I made a Facebook post about it. Check it out. What about you though? Your principles? Yeah. So I know and believe that they are extremely required. I've went through seasons of my life where I had established principles, but I kind of slid them to the side and allowed the very big distractions to distract me away from the end goal that I had in mind, right? Both whether business or personal, right? There are many examples that I can kind of use in my lifetime, but I think that having principles established are super important, especially if you're in a relationship, especially if you're in a friendship, especially if you're in, you have a business, whatever the case is. I think that establishing principles are super important because without that, you have no boundaries. Yep. And so, if you're in any type of ship, cruise ship, sail ship. There you go. Any type of ship. Yeah. So look, I'm gonna ask you now. Okay. I can keep asking me, but he likes to be the commentator. All right. So we got. Says here. So hungry. Okay. Yeah. Hungry. Let's talk about it. So curiosity. Okay. Keep learning. This is something I think you and I talk about a large amount. Yeah. So how do you remain curious in your exploits through your life? Yeah. So as far as me, I understand that life is about learning. And so in order for me to make any type of dent in this world, as far as when it comes to inspiring, when it comes to training and developing, like I need to continue to read and pour and get more knowledgeable because of my personal goals. Yeah. And what I feel like my purpose in life is simply to add value to people. Yeah. Right. And so
I run with that. In order for me to add value to something, I need to make sure that I remain curious and I keep, leveling up in a sense.
Oh yeah.
And not just just through day-to-day life, but just in books and every aspect of life. Mm-hmm. And so I remain curious because I feel like I have a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep reading, keep growing, and grinding.
Shout out to Darren D Money, who reads more books than
yes,
any
person,
adult. not even child, any person I know.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you gotta remain curious. But I will say one thing I had to learn about myself is what I like learning about and what I don't like learning about. Mm-hmm. So, like for instance, I was talking to Net, and we were talking about the real estate thing, right? And she was like, and she's like spouting all this stuff, right. And I was like, I can only learn so much. And she was like, oh, like I just don't. I feel like you're disinterested in the real estate thing, and I was like, no, it's not that I'm disinterested in it. It's like I'm just more interested in right. like the wealth management, finances game. And I was like, and that's also like your thing.
Right.
Like I can't know everything about both our things. Right. Because right now I'm invested in this piece. When the time comes, I'll invest some more time into that. But right now, my curiosity is in this particular industry.
Right. But I think that goes back to when we were just talking about humble, right?
Oh yeah.
Of knowing who you are, like you know yourself enough. You spent enough time with yourself to know yourself enough to know that that's just in this season. I have other curious things.
Oh yeah.
Right? So which
and
again
you,
is
and
important.
You can't do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stop trying to read it.
Oh, I wasn't.
He was. You guys saw him. So the other part of hungry is bravery. Take calculated risks.
Yeah.
But I will even add to that, take potentially uncalculated risks.
Okay. I think that
thoughts.
You cannot be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, like, in all simple words, like, you just cannot be afraid to fail. Like, you can't live your life in a very fearful mindset, right? Yeah. Because when you do, you block your blessings, you block the opportunities, and I think that's what it is. Mm-hmm. So,
no, I mean, and I mean. Yeah, I mean, too many times. I mean, taking risks. I've always said that I'm a calculated risk type of person. It's always cost analysis for me, right? But there are plenty of risks that I've taken where the cost it could have been worse than what it was, right? But the reward was amazing. Yeah. And so I think it's really, and that's another part of knowing yourself.
Yep.
What scenarios are you okay with when the ROI isn't in your favor?
Right.
You know, just like when we talk to clients, what's your risk tolerance?
Right.
Like, if your account drops $25,000, are you happy about that?
Right.
No. Maybe we need to talk about some safer options then. You know, if you're the type of person that wants to go ham and you don't care, all right. Well,
or you don't mind losing.
You might as well just go to Vegas.
No, that's true. That's true. Mm-hmm. And so even with the risks, I don't know. Again, you have to be willing to going back into how it ties into being humble. You have to be able to know a clear path of what you're trying to do, what goals that you have, and take those calculated risks. What am I willing to sacrifice? What am I willing to take this leap of faith on? Mm-hmm. Even if on the flip side, worst case scenario, it's a lesson lost. Yeah. So.
Facts.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And then the last one's hustle.
Hustle.
So let's see here. Which one do it? So excellence, stick with it, execution, team building, partnership, margin.
Okay.
Generosity, succession. So partnership, collaborate with colleagues and competitors.
Yeah. So. Collaborate with colleagues and competitors. So I think that, again, keep going back to humble.
Yeah.
I think it all ties back to that. When you're in a space where you're confident enough in your ability and what you bring to the table, the competition is irrelevant, because the person that you compete with, as far as my perspective, it's you versus you.
Facts.
And that's how I view whether I'm in business with someone or there are other competitors out there.
Yep.
At the end of the day, the only person that I'm competing against is myself.
Facts.
So for me, I don't mind. Number one, I think collaborations are extremely, extremely important as far as when it comes to expanding visions and expanding that next thing, because people bring different aspects to the table. So for me, the collaborating with your competitors, I think it just depends on what it is. So, for example, if it's a community event where we're talking finances and there's other financial companies, you know, why not reach out to them for the greater cause?
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on it. But
coming for your head,
right? But no, while we doing this community event, behind the scenes, the team and I coming after you.
Yeah, we coming for you, man. No, I say a lot. I'm very big on collab over compete.
Yeah.
There's more than enough money. There's more than enough food to eat, you know. And I think too many times people can get wrapped up in like, I want it all.
Right.
And it can make you ugly as a person. And at the same time, it can also make you lose perspective.
Yeah.
Of what. So my example, I remember when I think it was maybe 2 years ago. You know, we do annual awards or whatever for recruiters. You know, it's a non-commission, commission-based job because it's all about numbers, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, and I like came on the block, heavy hitter, like, oh, this dude's gonna destroy it, whatever. And I did well. I mean, I was over 100%. It was all good. But I remember one of the other recruiters. I think he put in maybe like 50 something people that year.
Okay. Just
based off the way the goals work and things. And I mean, he's like, I was like, oh, you know, he won like top recruiter. I was like, oh, congrats, man. That's super dope. And he's like, oh yeah, man, you're next. And I was like, nah.
Yeah.
And he was like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? He's like, I was like, you're a killer, bro. Like, blah blah. And I was like, yeah, but I know the work required to do that. And for what?
Right.
I was like, bro, you just put in 50 people. I put in 28. We got paid the exact same, but I guarantee our stress levels were different. 100%. And he was like, oh, man.
Facts.
You know, yeah. I mean, that moment, he's like, facts. Not to mention, you know, when you're trying to do too much, there is a potential to fall on your feet. I mean, this particular person, I mean, great at recruiting, but had a lot of missteps and got in trouble for those missteps because, you know, and we have that in recruiting a lot where it's like, hey, bro, you're running too fast. Like, slow down. Get back, you know, like we talk about, get back to your process.
Right.
Run the system the way it's supposed to be ran. Even if it takes you a little bit longer, the system will take care of you if you take care of the system.
Yep. 100%. I want to add one more. One more. So we're back.
He just likes talking to me.
Hustling. In the hustle. So we were talking about partnerships, collaboration, excellence. Well, let's end off with that.
Oh, you want to go Air Force on me right now?
No. Not like excellence is all we do. You know what I mean? Just excellence, setting standards that scare you.
Okay.
Which kind of goes back to the previous one that you asked me in a nutshell when it talked about risk.
So, excellence, I would honestly say, is unattainable. And the reason I say that is because there is always an opportunity for improvement.
Okay.
You can always revisit something, you know. It might be great for this time right now, but, you know, a year from now, what was great now will be whatever later.
Right.
You know, behind our backdrop is a regular whiteboard.
Right.
I told Net, I was like, I want a regular whiteboard. And she was like, you're telling me there's no technology that's increased since the 70s when a whiteboard was created. And, of course, there has, but also like the feasibility of getting the one that we want, right? And so that I think that's the thing is like, how are you revisiting? How are you making things happen? And so excellence, I don't think is necessarily attainable. But I think like the more you strive to just do the best that you can, then you're straight, and it'll make things good.
Yeah,
and it keeps you coachable. Sorry.
Yeah. I believe that, and I remember reading a couple years ago, it was probably like 4 or 5 years ago, there was this quote on excellence. And from that day forward, that's how I viewed excellence moving forward. It was, excellence isn't something that you do, it's something that you become.
Yeah.
And so, like, again, when you talk about competing and it's you versus you and things like that, like, when you're constantly pushing for excellence, almost like that ever-moving, dangling carrot. Yeah. But, like, you end up becoming that next best version of yourself, I believe. So that's my take on it, man. I'm glad that you talked about excellence, and I'm glad we were able to actually have this conversation, because I feel like even though the book was H3 leadership, I think that those 3 words are so powerful and can be applied in life, love, whatever you love to do, and leadership, right? And so there you have it. We would love to hear y'all thoughts on humble. What was it? Hungry and hustle.
Yep.
Right. On any talking points. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Cam, you got any last words for them?
No. Thank you. As always, like, subscribe, share, comment, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. At the end of the day, we're here for you guys. We're here to bring value to you. And so if there's a subject you'd like for us to talk on, let us know. If there's a subject that you want us to talk on with you, hit us up.
Let us know.
We're down.
For sure.
Other than that, we'll see y'all later. We appreciate you.